So thank you, Lisa, for joining us for the NFT Talks Virtual Conference. Pretty big milestone for us to start this virtual conference. I don't think there's many conferences that have really kicked off lately. We'll just had Sean pop in for a second there.
Hi, Sean.
So we've got a few of these in-person ones so far, but I think there hasn't been many virtual. So pleasure to have you here. And this is the down under version of the NFT Talks conference. So Lisa in Australia and myself in New Zealand. So big welcome. Thanks for coming along.
Thank you. I can see our dudes. David, hi. He's just saying, hello, I love Lisa's art. Thank you so much. That's so kind. And Dream Big 2020. Hello.
Welcome along, everyone. So Lisa, we'll kick off. And what I'm keen to understand, and I'm sure the others are as well, is just a little bit about your backstory. So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and probably just up to the point where you kind of discovered NFTs? So just understand a bit about you, and then we'll delve into, how did you find NFTs and those sorts of things?
Sure. So thank you. Welcome, everybody. It's so great to be here. And thank you, Andy, for having me. I really, I'm so grateful for this opportunity. So my name is Lisa. I'm obviously from Australia. I am an artist. I'm an author. I'm also an educator, but I am literally an educator. So I've taught in primary schools for the last 15 odd years. And at the moment I am not in the classroom, but I'm still working in education, which I'm very grateful for. So I am a mum of one, and I'm a multi-passionate person. So obviously, as you can tell, I'm into art. I've owned a few businesses over time as well. I used to make miniature food inspired jewelry. I used to go to all sorts of markets. But what happened for me, I'm not going to talk about NFTs as such, but in terms of finding NFTs, I know that people have heard this story so many times probably, but I didn't know anything about NFTs until last October. So I fell into it when a colleague of mine suggested that I jump onto TikTok. And, 46-year-old mum, I was like, yeah, I don't know, TikTok's really for me. Isn't that dancing app for kids? But anyway, he just kept saying, look, go have a look. You would like the book talk, you'll like the art talk, just go and check it out. And I've been doing digital art for a little while, but just really as a hobby. And I do have a website, so I had prints up in the website, but I really wasn't pushing it. I wasn't going too far with it. I just sort of had it there. I was just putting things up occasionally. I used to have an Etsy store as well. And so I jumped onto TikTok, and I just was a consumer at first, having a look at what it was all about, and sort of worked out, well, actually, it's not just dancing kids. There are some really great educators here in terms of art talk and book talk. That's what I was looking at. And I ended up finding, as I think a lot of us, even in people in the chat will probably agree, a lot of us know Sydney Esposito from Espo Visual. So I stumbled across her art, and she was doing, I think one of her very first TikToks that I saw anyway, was talking about this process of putting an NFT on the Solana blockchain. And it piqued my interest, and I thought, what is this? What is this hashtag NFT? So I completely went down the rabbit hole, just as many of us have over time. Ended up binge watching anything that Sydney basically put out there to learn how to do it for myself. And then, went off, obviously made more connections, and did a bit of research basically to understand a little bit about blockchain technology and what I was actually doing by putting my art out there through a blockchain. But I kind of thought, what have I got to lose at that point? I thought, why not?
No, exactly. And TikTok, it's a bit of a rabbit warren, isn't it? Rabbit hole. You sort of start watching a few, and before you know it, and it's kind of similar. And I saw Sydney. I don't know, a lot of people connected with Sydney. I think she just sort of showed some of her how to do it type videos, which is into that education space, as you said.
She absolutely did. And she's one of the most, she just kind of glows with this kind energy that I'm immediately, just in adore. So she's so kind and she's so helpful. And the way she explained everything was really simple and just made it sound like there's not these massive barriers. Because to be quite honest, if you'd spoken to me 12 months ago about crypto or, blockchain technology, and, one day you'll be putting your art there, I'd be like, no, what? No way. And, that's not for me. I don't even understand what you're talking about. But I think Sydney does it in such a beautiful way that it really made it seem like, well, actually, it's not that hard. It doesn't have to be that difficult to do. I can see a couple of comments. Sorry. Homer's saying, right, one of my favorite friends. Thanks, Homer. And Sydney's a big part. Yeah, absolutely. I think for so many artists, you'll hear that she was kind of like our OG.
Her I can't remember what her one she calls it, but the I one, where it's the eye
Start of Light, I think.
I think so. That's sort of one which is just sort of I think a lot of people saw and was like, wow, that's really cool, and
beautiful,
especially using Procreate to do it, and the steps that she did. So obviously Sydney's got her style, and you've had obviously a bit of an art background and your interest in art. How did you sort of come up with your artistic style? Because that's quite different, and I mean, I love it. It's really bright colors and just amazing sort of abstract, and just I think when I look at it, I can, especially quite a lot of the nautical themes seem to jump through. So you tell us a little bit about where you got your, I guess, inspiration or how you came out with your style.
Absolutely. So I think for me, I'm going to be quite honest and say, when I had those Etsy stores and when I was first selling prints, I think I was really trying to create things that I thought the market wanted. I was looking at trends and I was thinking, oh, this is what's popular now. This is what they want. Oh, hopefully this sells. And I was creating art based on what I thought people wanted and not what was actually coming out of my heart, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So at the same time, I was also doodling away on my iPad with art that would just, I don't even know how to explain it other than to say it just would just, you just get that, when you get that lightning spark of inspiration, you've just got to go and do it. And you don't know that it's going to go anywhere, but it would be related to an emotion or a memory or a feeling. And I just almost like journaling, I just had to get it out. So it wasn't something that I would intentionally sit it down and plan. So I had a few of these artistic pieces on my iPad that were really bright and colorful, but they tell a story, and they tell a story to me, and it might not be obvious to everybody else what that story is. And that's actually what I love about it, is that it can be interpreted in so many different ways. But I also want them to feel joyful, because some of the things that, for instance, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but there's a tiny boat. You'll have to search for it because that's another element of my art.
There
sometimes
everyone,
I hide things in my art.
That's a task for everyone. Find the boat.
Tiny boat features in some of my art, and it will continue to feature in my art. And that's my dad. So it comes out of a memory of my father, who passed away on the ocean, actually, when I was only 22. So that is, and he's just a sort of thread through my art. And so, originally I was just sort of drawing these things just to get out some feelings. And I originally started creating because I thought in NFTs that everybody had to create big PFP collections, because that's where I started. I was like, obviously I saw Sydney, who did a collection of 50, but I was thinking, oh no, I've got to make something big. Once you do all this research, start seeing these 10,000 PFP collections. So I started creating, again, I was going down the track of what I thought people would like. I started creating art of an Australian bird called a cockatoo. So I started creating all these different variations of this cockatoo because that was going to be my first NFT project. And I was sharing it, I was sharing it around on Twitter and, just to get a bit of a feel for, in a sense, for what people thought. And, I was getting an okay reaction, yep, a couple of love hearts, a few nice comments and things like that. And then I do not know what overcame me one day, but I just decided that I was going to share Mother Urban, which was one of these kind of, I'm going to just call it heart art, one of my heart art pieces. And so I popped it out there on Twitter. And I was actually really nervous because I thought this is like, it feels really personal and I feel quite vulnerable. I mean, other people wouldn't necessarily know that at all, but I felt vulnerable. And so because it's different, it is quite different and it's quite organic. So I popped it out there on Twitter and I got a really good feedback, like, whoa, this is beautiful, and lots of beautiful comments. And I just thought, am I making a mistake doing the cockatoos? If I'm going to do it anytime in my life, if I'm just going to take the plunge and be vulnerable and be my authentic self, then now's the time to do it. Like, don't just, I just said to myself, gave myself a little pep talk, don't just keep doing what you think people want to see, just do what you want to do, so that was, so then I completely pivoted, scrapped the other idea. I've still got those cockatoos, but I scrapped that idea and I went with Mother Urban as my first collection, and it was really well received. So very grateful for that. And then that really just inspired me to continue down that track of that art. So the feelings I want people to feel, I guess, it's always going to be different and people will read different things into it. But it's really about, I want them to be joyful. I want people to be curious. I want them to be able to look for different aspects, because I always hide tiny little people, little things within my artwork. I want them, to be, I guess, with that curiosity, get more involved in the art, be able to look around and find little things in it, I guess, that might mean things to them. I hope that it evokes emotion in others, in a personal way, whatever that might be.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it does, because you've sold out, 3 collections, I think.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and look, they're not massive collections.
but
I
that
am
doesn't
a
matter.
solo artist, and I'm a one-of-one artist mostly. So yeah, not huge collections, but yeah, I did sell them out. So I'm very lucky, and I got featured on the Saucy front page as one of their hottest artists or whatever at the time. But I think that's just from views or something. But yeah, I was very grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah, I think the thing though, your art did connect with people, and so I think you made the right choice, because I think the cockatoos, I've seen them on your website and they look really nice, but it doesn't connect with me as your art does. So the art that you've published. So
thank you. I just don't think it tells us. Sorry to interrupt. No. I just don't think they necessarily tell a story.
No.
Yeah. Whereas that's what I'm trying to do with my all of my NFTs, is to tell a story. So my latest one, Learning to Fly, is all really an ode to the NFT community. So it's about my love for them, and it tells a story. And I wrote a poem that goes over it, which tells the story. So yeah.
It's cool. We've got NFT Bear on the line. I think he maybe had some issues logging in with his account, and his girlfriend here. He was just asking, could you share your screen and show some of your art? Is that possible?
I haven't got anything set up here, Bear. I'm so sorry. I would love to. I wasn't as organized as Amy.
I could probably jump on Soulsea and see if I can find you here. Was it soulsea.io?
Sorry, I'm just scared because I'm running the session that I'm going to jump out somehow
that's okay, no problem.
And do the wrong thing.
And what would I look under?
Amy's amazing. Yes, Marisol.
Yeah.
I would expect nothing less from Amy. She's amazing. Noah has asked a question. Lisa, what is your biggest tip for young and hungry artists? Ooh, young and hungry artists. Do you mean people who want to get into NFTs, or just people who just want to create? Because if it's just for creating, I guess my biggest tip, when you say you're hungry, I would always come back to community and collaboration. Yep. But yeah, specifically the outside of NFTs. So I would always urge people to be creating the things that you love, not the things that you necessarily think are going to be the next. I mean, it's always good to keep your eye on trends, of course, but things that are personal and have a meaning to you and tell a story, because I feel like people really connect to that. If you've got a good story and you've got a story that you want to tell, and you're being your authentic self and you're connecting with people, I think that you will absolutely grow and attract the community that you want. So zero art skills. Oh, everybody's an artist. Everybody's got skills.
That's right.
Noah.
Everyone's got some piece of creativity in them.
You could definitely outsource, but I would also suggest to you that think about what your purpose is. Like, what do you want to achieve? There is absolutely nothing wrong with art for art's sake. I fall in love with art, NFTs all the time, and I buy them because I just love the look of them and I want to support the artist. But I would also have a think about what is your why? What is your bigger purpose? Like, it's really become apparent to me over time that NFTs is so much bigger than just, JPEGs.
Yep.
The use cases are really endless. And I think that being able to present that purpose, like, it can be community driven, purpose driven. What is your big why? And that is how you'll attract the people to your project. And that's how you'll build your community, because you'll attract those like-minded people. The use cases are just endless. So yeah, anyway, I could talk all day about that.
That's okay. I was actually just jumping on Soulsea to find your artwork, but I don't know, maybe searching under the wrong thing. I looked under your name, but
if you have a look at a collection of rainbow called Rainbow Magic, you should be able to find it on Soulsea. Sorry, my throat's getting funny.
It's okay. You have a glass of water. Is it one word or two?
Two. Rainbow Magic. But yeah, so that would be my biggest tip is find your tribe.
I'm sure.
And who share a common purpose. So you see these people making all these teams, creating amazing NFT projects with a real soul purpose, that of helping community, onboarding more people. It could really be anything. And by telling that story, I guess that's how you'll get people inspired to come on the journey with you.
I'm not having much luck at finding things.
That's
it's
okay.
my Google skills are a bit crap today.
No, that's fine. I'm sure people can go and have a look at it for themselves.
Yeah, but I was looking on Soulsea, which actually brings me to my next question,
yes.
which is, obviously you've created your fantastic artworks, your Rainbow Magic, and your other one escapes my mind. But obviously you had to decide, where am I going to actually put these NFTs? So I know I've seen all your TikToks, so I know your reasoning behind it, but tell us a little bit about choosing a blockchain, and then why did you choose the particular one you did, and I guess what have you learnt by using that blockchain?
Okay, great question. I will be honest and say that via my introduction through Sydney's work, she was on Solana and Soulsea. So that was really my introduction to NFTs. So I really, even though had done my research, I had looked at a couple of others, and of course you look at the big players as well. Yep. And I just didn't find it as intuitive. Some of the other, and it's not the blockchain technology, it's the marketplace really. So I didn't find the marketplace as intuitive, it is the blockchain technology, to be honest, as well, isn't it? Because if you think about the difficulty, that's learning to fly. Thank you. Thanks.
That's okay.
I know. The rest of them aren't there. Because I can see everything usually. If is it under activity, there's usually a heap of them, like all of my other ones as well, but that's okay.
Okay. Where's activity?
That's fine. I don't know how you see ones that have already been sold. I think you have to go, if you go into the actual artwork and then click on my profile over, see where it says, yep. Then if you go there, that should show you my full, that'll show you everything.
Which is, this work is awesome. And I know obviously you've used some of this artwork on, sorry, I'll let you finish about the Soulsea, obviously the marketplace, and then we can come back to this artwork.
That's fine. Sure. So I guess I need to be honest. I mean, I have tried Polygon from a buyer's perspective, and I haven't always found it that intuitive. But the reason I went with Soulsea and Solana in the first place was really because I did find it so easy. I found that, it's eco-friendly. I thought, well, that's a win. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's cheaper. So it cost me about $2 to $4 for every NFT that I mint, which is, when you hear about stories of gas prices and things on other marketplaces or other blockchains, it is, crazy. So it just didn't seem technically that hard for me to be part of it. So it's fast. I guess that's another reason. But I was really guided by the community. So I found obviously I found Sydney, but I found a bunch of other people who were then working on Solana as well. And it's like we created this little, we call ourselves like the soul sisters and brothers.
Yeah. It's a great catchy name.
Community of people.
It's a nice catchy name, Soul Brothers and Sisters.
Yeah, absolutely. This community of people really helping each other out and supporting each other on Solana. And I have to be honest with you, the people who, and this is talking about the marketplace now, but the team that runs SoulSea are really accessible. Like we have a guy in our NFTie Discord, because I'm also a co-founder of that community with the amazing Amy and 6 other people, which I'm so proud of. We have I think one of their mods or one of their community managers just drops in every now and then and just says, "Hey, going?" Like, what? And so people can ask him direct questions like, I need help with this, or how do I do this? And I just haven't seen that. So I feel like they're very supportive as well.
Yeah, I think in an earlier interview, Sean sort of summed it up pretty well, because he was comparing OpenSea to kind of like McDonald's, right? Where it's mass market, customer service is terrible. It's pretty hard to complain about things, or your complaint goes to off into the ether somewhere. And it's just not that user friendly. It's kind of cookie cutter type setup. Yeah. Whereas the other ones like SoulSea, a little bit more smaller and boutique, but then you get that personalized service. You can go and get your Big Mac at McDonald's and you kind of know what you're getting, or you buy multiple of them, I think. Whereas you come to SoulSea or platforms similar, Magic Eden being another one, where it is a bit more tailored and you've got that better service and a bit more personable, and you can still buy your hamburger from there, but it's a bit more fancier. And if you have a complaint, gets listened to, and they're all about their customers. So
I love that. The one thing I will say, obviously Solana has its challenges. There's been issues with it dropping offline or not offline, but just dropping out altogether and all sorts of things. So it does have its challenges. But I guess you've got to work out for yourself when you choose your own block or like a blockchain to go with. And look, I'm not just saying I'll always just stick with Solana and that's it. Like I'm interested in looking at other blockchain technology as well, and other blockchains as well, and to work out also where are the people kind of hanging out. So for instance, I really love writing poetry, and there's a huge literary or poetry community of NFT artists sitting over on Tezos. So, I would potentially look at going there as well. So I think spreading myself out, but I think it's also about having a think about what, if you really value eco-friendly, if that's part of your values, then you're going to look for blockchains that kind of suit that. And to me, Solana kind of ticks all those boxes for me. So, thank you. Lots of beautiful comments.
Yeah, there's some fantastic
Thank you so
comments.
much.
Actually, there's a couple of questions which I know we were kind of leaving the questions to the end, but I think a couple of them sort of feed in nicely. So, Dream Big asked, what made you want to do one-on-one, I guess, opposed to the larger collections? Because you did talk about earlier, I think, looking at larger collections. So what was your reasoning behind that?
So I think for me, those really big collections, as a new artist to NFTs, I guess I didn't have the confidence to have a massive collection with I guess the thought that, yep, I'm going to be able to sell all of those. I was still building my community, and I'm still building my community. And I would think that is the first thing to look at is connecting with people, collaborating with people. And at that time when I dropped my first collection, it was literally a month or something after I just discovered NFTs. So I was still connecting with people, and I just thought, well, there's no way I'd be able to sell 10,000, and I know it doesn't have to be a huge sellout quickly. It can be a long game. Absolutely. But for me, I also am very much drawn to collections of more, I guess, exclusive is not the right word, but more, I love to support one of one artists as well. Yeah. So I guess I'm just more drawn to that, but I think it's really just a personal choice. And I think I've also heard one of my friends, Katie, who's Brooklyn NFTs, talk about the fact that her very first drop was, I think, about 40 NFTs from memory. And what she did, she actually had to think about it, and she knew the people in her community that were going to support her. So she put out a collection accordingly, and she just thought, if I go too big, I guess she didn't want to probably get, maybe disheartened as well. If you've got this massive collection sitting there, it'd be easy to be put off if I had a 10,000 pair feet collection and, I sold 10 and that stayed like that forever or whatever. I think it would be very easy for me to go, oh, maybe this isn't for me. I think it looked a bit overwhelming, I guess.
Yeah. And look, I think, I won't call them mistakes, but learning opportunities.
Of course, no mistakes.
I had a lot of learning opportunities with my collections that I've sort of done, which are not really, there were a couple of one-on-one ones, but they're more in that sort of same cartoony, that's sort of where I've come from, the cartoony type artwork. And I'm going to be looking to sort of pivot for my next lot, I think, around more one-on-one sort of stuff and try to get a bit more creative. So anyway, that's one of the things I've learned.
That's exciting. Well, I think, look, and I would never say never to a big collection either. It might be fit for purpose for my next collection, because really when I first got into NFTs, I didn't understand. I guess it took me a little bit to understand that it's not just about the art, that it can be more of a community-driven project. And if that's the case, then I would probably want to put a big collection out there, because if I'm trying to raise money or funds for a big community project, then it would make sense to have a big collection. But at the time my utility wasn't massive. It was just like, okay, you can get some discounts in my store, and here's also, I'll give you a free an airdrop, and that sort of stuff. So I wasn't thinking, I guess, about my bigger purpose. And that's taken me a little while to figure out, to be honest. It takes me a while.
Look, don't worry. We're the same age, and we got onto TikTok, this what we thought was a dancing app. And I've learned the same sort of thing about how important community is, and then building for that community. And it's sort of taken me a while to learn that, but finally right in that space now. Cool. So just talking on community, and I think this is like one of my biggest takeaways is around building that community. How have you sort of approached it from your side? I know you've obviously collaborated with other people and sort of pulled together to sort of share resources, and I've sort of done the similar thing with NFT Bear and Chicago Toy Hunter and Splazzy Face, etc., to build this NFT Talks kind of community. We've still got a way to go, but hopefully this conference is a good step. So tell me how you've kind of leveraged and worked to build your community.
I think my community growth has been quite organic. So it started obviously on TikTok. That's where I really started meeting people in the space. And look, hats off to those people who can jump on a trend and just skyrocket, to the moon with their amount of people. But for me, I'm not really fazed by that. I'm more about, if I've got a great community of people who are engaged and who are kind and who are sharing with each other and helping each other to rise, then that's the gold standard for me. I don't care if it's 100 people or if it's 100,000 people. So I think really building my community has been, and I don't like to say my community, I just feel like it's it's everybody, we're all
Yeah.
each other's community. We're all here to support each other. So for me, it's been about connecting with people in an authentic way and coming from an education standpoint. So I will say that the TikToks and things that I do that are more about an education side of things in terms of helping people out to learn something new in the space and to try to simplify that process, that has brought a lot of people and onboarded some people, which has been fantastic. And that's what our collective's all about as well. The NFT3 collective is really about bringing people in and supporting them. So it's coming from a place of service, if that makes sense. So one of my friends who is one of the co-founders of NFT3 Collective, that is Soul Animals, Eliza. And if you're watching, Eliza, hello. Her first question, and I remember always being blown away by this, is how can I help you? How can I support you? What can I do to help? So I think that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed as a shift from Web 2 to Web 3 is that level of service, I guess, and support for people. And I don't get a sense, and look, I could be wrong, and people in our community might feel differently, but from my perspective, I just don't think I've ever seen or been part of such a supportive place where people aren't quite it's not about the competition,
No.
Everybody's recognizing that there's room enough for everybody, and we're not coming from a scarcity mindset, and we're not coming from lack. We're coming from, we know that we can't do this alone. You know what I mean? And I think for me, it's also been about recognizing what I enjoy, finding my strengths and passions, and then being able to share those, but also recognizing the things that are not my strengths and passions and surrounding myself with people much smarter than me who we can all collaborate and use our strengths to help each other rise. So that's been, I guess, in terms of community building, that's been the linchpin for me, is just connecting with people, asking them how you can help, and then also putting your hand up when you need help yourself. I'm really bad at that. I'm terrible.
I think a lot of us are putting our hand up and putting for help. But look, I fully agree with you. And I think everyone's sort of starting on the same level playing field. And I think that's because we're sort of, Web3 is quite new. And I know it's sort of like NFTs was 2017, but really hitting sort of that mainstream was really only last year, when a lot of people came on board, and especially artists and creators to sort of get involved in NFTs. So everyone is very collaborative and helping. And Amy in her previous session talked about collaboration as being one of the key things as people in this space that we should be doing. And
yes,
it's really great to see that people are doing that. And I mean, look at this conference. This is a collaboration between so many people to sort of bring this information out to everyone and help educate and share our stories. So
amazing.
Fully agree with you. Collaboration is really key.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think we are in such a unique space and time where we actually have the opportunity to write the narrative. I've never been part of something where I've got in early. I've always been the late bloomer who's like, oh, internet, oh, what's that, or whatever. And I'm like, I always feel like I'm the one who's missing the joke or, missing the punchline or something. Like I'm always just that little bit behind. But in this space, I feel like actually what we do now is really important, because we get to set the tone for how this moves forward. Before all the big corps start to jump in, I guess, which they are. But, I just think so lucky to be part of a community where everybody is community minded. And we can really start to drive that moving forward, which is great.
No, excellent. That's cool. Right. So I just want to touch a little bit on the teaching side of things. So the teaching of or onboarding of people to crypto and whatnot, so NFTs. It's quite interesting. I had a conversation the other day with someone sort of saying, "Oh, come from a long line of teachers," because my mother, who's 70, she's retiring next week, and my wife's a teacher, and my grandmother was a teacher, and her dad was a teacher, and goes back. And I said, "Oh, phew, lucky I missed this.
Wow.
I missed this teaching gig. I didn't have to become a teacher." And this, like, aren't you trying to teach people how to use NFTs? And damn it! Oh, I got.
Hang on. I think that I've met a lot of people that have a lot of educators in their family, and they always fall into some kind of category where they're doing something for the community. So like I've got friends that, parents, one's a teacher, one's a nurse, and then all the kids are teachers and nurses and one policeman. So they're all in community service in some way. So just because you're not got the degree doesn't mean that you're not a teacher.
Exactly. So obviously you've got your Web3 sort of collective, but yeah, how are you approaching educating, I guess, people? I know obviously TikTok, but I mean, yeah, just maybe elaborate a little bit around the importance of educating and onboarding people and that sort of thing.
So as I mentioned, we've got the NFT collective, which is a Discord group where we are, I guess you would say, call us a multidisciplinary group of artists, and really with all different levels and skills and experiences. Amy's amazing. I won't go through the full list, but you've just heard from Amy, and the amazing things she can bring. Then we've got I think it's important to be able to ask people, and meet them. Basically, I guess this is echoing a bit of what Amy said, is meet them where they are. So asking them what they need, bringing them into that community, whether it's the NFT collective or, my DM's always open. If you want to ask me a question, I'm more than happy to help. And then it's so beautiful to actually see those people then reach out to the next group of people who are coming up, into NFTs and supporting them as well. So I think it's about not being afraid. So for me, I would never claim to be an expert. Yeah, I'm an educator and I, I've got some experience in this space, but I would never say I'm an expert and I know everything. Absolutely not. I think none of us can claim that. I think we're always all learning, but I think it's about not being afraid, for me anyway, to, as you said before, there's no failings and mistakes, but to almost fail forward, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, is and share those failures as well as the successes, because sometimes I think it's very easy to get into a space where, on TikTok, Twitter, wherever it might be, where you're just sharing your successes because you think that'll draw people in. But I think it's actually more about also sharing your learnings and your losses and your mistakes, and just being transparent and honest, I think, is the biggest thing that I see. And people connect with that then. They understand that it's okay to make that mistake. It is a bit of trial and error. So does that answer your question?
No, it does. That's really good. Actually got a couple more questions from the floor, so I might just jump and ask one of those. I think we've answered the one around generative art because you talked about that, one of one. Look, here's a really important one from Crypto Drew. Do they have tacos in Sydney?
Yes. We have tacos.
I think you'll find all sorts of...
I'm actually in Canberra, so I'm about 3 hours south of Sydney. I'm between Sydney and Melbourne. So I'm in the capital, believe it or not. Not that many people, I don't know. I'd love to see a show of hands of who knew that Canberra is the capital of Australia and not Sydney. I think Sydney is, the most known city in Australia, around the world. So I live in, we call ourselves the bush capital. So it really is the bush capital. We are a big, nothing like Sydney. We're not on the water, but we're really in the middle of the bush. And it's a beautiful place to be. You don't have to go far to go out on some trails and hikings and things like that, which is really gorgeous. So yes, we do have tacos. Very important question.
It is. It is. Feel free to fire questions through, guys, and we'll get to those.
Yeah.
Cool. So my next sort of path that I want to take you down is really just around social media. So not just TikTok, obviously, there's Twitter, and there's so many bits of social media that you can get onto. Keen to sort of understand how you've kind of managed your social media, and I guess any lessons you've learned out of it. I know it can get pretty time consuming and and rabbit holes everywhere. So what have you learned from social media, and what do you use? And that'd be cool.
Sure. So the key social media platforms that I use are TikTok, Twitter, and I don't know if you call Discord a social media platform or not, but I am now just branching back out into Instagram. I had a little bit of a hiccup a little while ago with Facebook and Instagram where I got booted and my whole account got deleted for no reason. Well, not a reason that I can ascertain anyway. So I'm starting from the ground up again over on Instagram. Haven't quite dipped my toe back in the Facebook world yet, but I've got to also think from the perspective of who I connect with and who might connect with me. There are a lot of people potentially on Facebook that I left behind that I could be sharing all of this NFT stuff with. So it's something for me to think about. I think in terms of my biggest lessons, it would be time management. So self-care, number one, self-care. It is so easy to get swept away by social media, and I could easily be in my pajamas all day just checking my social media and not doing anything else. So I got to live. I got to look after myself. So number one, self-care. Make sure you're looking after yourself, or you won't be able to look after anybody else. And, that's a quick way to burn out as far as I'm concerned. So one way that I manage that is that I always make sure in the mornings before I do anything is that I do my walk or a bit of exercise, or, sit down for a nice brekkie before I launch into, checking my social media or whatever. The other thing would be that I try to batch. So on TikTok, it doesn't always work. Sometimes, I think of things and I go, oh yeah, I'll just quickly do a post about that. But I always try to have a bit of an arsenal of a few posts in backup that I can just put out there. If I'm going to have a really busy weekend with family, I want to be able to just pop them out there. But I also do think that for me personally, it's important that I check in and I respond to comments and DMs as well in a timely way. So that can be tricky. I think it's about trying to set aside a little bit of time and then trying to stick to it. And the other lesson I think is around trolls. I am quite a sensitive person, and that was one of my biggest fears, to be honest with you, about coming onto TikTok. And jumping into a space where we know not everybody loves it. Like, let's be honest, not everybody gets it. People don't get NFTs. People don't always get or understand crypto. And I think jumping into that space, and I was one of those, not that I was a troll, but I was one of those people that did not understand it, and so wouldn't have engaged with it. But I think people are missing out. But anyway, the trolls that jump in and that do, write nasty comments and stuff, that I've been really fortunate. I haven't had a huge amount of it, but the ones that I had right at the beginning kind of hit me fairly hard. Like I thought, oh gosh, like it's so easy to focus on the negative comment and not the positives. You might get 100 positive comments and then one negative, and it's so easy to focus on that negative. But I think I've worked out over time that it just says a lot more about them than me. And a lot of these people are coming from a place of not understanding. So they're not educated around what the great benefits of NFTs and Web3 can bring to them. One day they will know and understand, and they'll be like me when I was the late bloomer, and they'll be like, oh, damn, I wish I got on that. But anyway, so that's one of my key takeaways, I guess, is that it is important to not take it personally when the trolls jump in. And I think we've also got this amazing community where I've seen people respond with such grace to trolling comments and nasty comments, I have just been blown out of the water. So for instance, Adam, the other day, there was a comment on from Gorilla Pimp Squad, on one of his TikToks, and he actually put the comment up and he responded to it in a video, but in the most beautiful way. Like, it was kind, but it was like basically saying, nah, mate, you're wrong. But I'm just going to tell you in the nicest way possible. So it just really, said more about them than the actual artist or content creator. And I think my other takeaway is that connection over content creation is king, if that makes sense. At first I thought, I've got to be churning out 5 or 6 TikToks a day. I've got to be posting. And don't get me wrong, I think, people grow that way, but that was not sustainable for me. There was no way I was going to be able to continue doing 4 or 5 TikToks every day. Like, that's exhausting. And so I paired it back to what I could find manageable, which is like, some days it might only be 1, some days it's a couple. Other days I get overly excited and I might pop out 5 because I'm like, oh, look at this. But I think for me, I've really worked out that, yes, the content creation is amazing and it's great to put, educative things out there, but it's actually about the connection that is more important. So it's that connection through comments, it's the connection through DMs, it's the continuing conversation that's taken out of those social media platforms and taken to Discord, or maybe you've met someone on TikTok and then you've moved together over to Twitter. You know what I mean? You found each other then on Twitter and you might do a live together. So you're creating connection there. Or I think Twitter also gives you a real opportunity to have more of a one-on-one conversation as well. Because, I've got long threads of conversations with people where we're just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Whereas I don't really feel that I get that same kind of conversation flow happening on TikTok. It's usually like someone will write something, and you'll write something back, but you don't get a big long thread generally. That's just my experience anyway.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. He talked about the trolls, and I saw a Gary V interview, I guess, with him, and someone asked the question, how do you respond to trolls? And his response was, with kindness. He said, same sort of thing. It's more a reflection in their state of mind that they're coming at you with bad intent or whatever it may be, and if you reply with kindness, you can kind of disarm them and sort of get them to realize whatever, if they're in the wrong, or explain to them or educate them. And I've had my fair amount of you normally get the comments which just says scam.
I got one,
and
I actually got one where it was, someone said, oh yeah, wait, look at this person, wait for the rug pull. And I was like, I'm just going to ignore that comment. And then someone else in my in the community jumped into my defense in the comments, like, no, she's doxed, she's this, she's that, la la la, that's not right. Anyway, that person was actually like a bit of he was kind of following me. Like, I could see that I'd get, he'd make a random nasty comment, and then the next video I did, he'd make another random. So it was almost like he was not stalking, but he was just following me a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, I never heard from him again after this person jumped in. So thank you. Thank you, community.
I think that's some of, as you said, putting your authentic self out there. And so you build these connections and community. And so everyone has your back. They're there. Yeah. And if something nasty comes out, then they can jump in and say, well, actually, this is Lisa, and you can see what she looks like, and you can see her art, and she's even got she's got a website, and she's got a Twitter account, and you can find out all about her. So I think that's pretty easy to sometimes put some of these ones to bed. But,
absolutely. I did hear a strategy of you should pin those posts to the top of your comments to basically bring attention to them. I don't know that I've been brave enough to do that. I don't really want to draw attention and get the mob, But I did hear that that's something that people do. But anyway, I think always responding with kindness, or, if you're just not up for it, just don't respond at all.
No. I did hear that same strategy on TikTok. Someone was sort of, conflict gets viewers, and I mean, look how many viewers have been watching Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, right?
No, the drama, right?
Because of drama and conflict, and people just want to know what's going on. So
yeah, but I guess I try very much like my friend Kiana says, protect your peace at all costs, basically. So she will do anything to protect her peace. And I think that's a really good attitude. So if it's going to draw you into drama and stress you out, then don't go there.
I think that's a really awesome strategy.
Yeah.
Cool. I just lost my train of thought, but
that's okay.
I will jump on to the next sort of area, which we've got about 10 minutes left. So we'll see if there's any more questions. If you want to ask a question, just put it in the Q&A. But I think sort of getting your crystal ball out and looking ahead, we're very early, I think, still, even though NFTs are a couple of years in, we're still very early, and we've sort of touched on that. Where do you kind of see NFTs going in the next 5 years, 10 years? Any thoughts or projections on where you might see it going?
Yeah, I would love to say within 5 years that it will be much more mainstream. I really hope that's the case. And I think that means that it's going to have to apply to more in real life businesses as well, so that they can see the value of NFTs and what it can do for their business. So not just looking at NFTs, I guess, as and I know we all know that everybody in this room knows there's so much more than a JPEG, but let's just say for the person out there in the community who doesn't understand that, having the education and understanding that they can apply that into any business, and they have so many use cases, it's ridiculous. And it's really just limited by imagination. So I'm really hopeful that within the next 5 to 10 years that it is more mainstream. I mean, I look at things like the soulbound token that's coming, from, is it Vitalik, I think, has got that happening, where you won't be able to sell it, but it will be all of your life story, basically, your certificates and things sitting on there. I would really love to see I guess, coming from an education standpoint, I would love to see more education departments or whoever looking at this technology as well, because we know it's the future for our kids. We absolutely know they're our digital natives, right? So they won't need teaching. They're going to be teaching us how this all works. But I think we could really be doing so many things in education. Like if I even just look at for even adult education, if I think about micro credentials, or even our systems of, in Australia, we have universities. I think in the US that's a college. If we look at our systems in a decentralized way, look, this is me being a total idealist. I don't think this is going to happen in the next 5 years.
Whatever is in your crystal ball.
But this would be my utopia, I guess, would be where if we look at it as a decentralized system. So for instance, let's say that I want to learn about different things, but I can't sit for 4 years in a university or a college to do that, or I've already got experiences over here that apply. Could I somehow cherry pick different credentials and have them on the blockchain that shows this is me, and it's immutable. So I think that micro-credential stuff would be interesting to see where that goes. Homer's just said yes to education systems for removing administrative redundancy. Absolutely. Yeah. I think there's a lot of bureaucracy and wasted time going on that could be remedied. And my hope would be that even so, coming from an author standpoint now, sorry, as I told you, I'm a bit of a multi-passionate, so I'm everywhere. Coming from an author standpoint, I would really love to see the author community also brought into this more heavily and for readership or readers to be more, I guess, onboarded, but not necessarily even onboarded. I think there'll be a time where they don't even know that they're engaging with the blockchain. You know what I mean? It'll just be the technology that sits in behind the the ebook or the book NFT that they've just bought, the literary NFT that they've just bought, and now they're supporting an author in a way that they never could before. So if you buy a book now, you read it. If you want to sell it, you can sell it. But the author will never see another cent from those resales. Whereas I think that's the beauty of NFTs. If more authors and artists can see that the secondary market is really beneficial for them as well, and a great way to create communities, because it could be a ticket, like my NFT, literary NFT could be a ticket to my book club, or something like that. Just, I think, people thinking outside the box a little bit. That's what I'm really hoping it's going.
There's so many possibilities. And I think because at the moment, one of our identifiers as a person is maybe your email address, but I've got like about 5 email addresses. But if you've got sort of one centralized wallet or something like that, and that's where you buy your books from, buy your tickets to concerts, people can then, you've got your address, they can go, oh, I see you came to our concert last year. Actually, we're just releasing a new album. Here's one of the singles, and we're going to airdrop all the people who went to this concert a single. You just keep on building your community. Similar with a book, maybe you're on to the next one, so you give them an airdrop of the first chapter of the new book coming out, or maybe the whole book. I mean, there's just so many possibilities around. I guess that back to that blockchain and you sort of having that, as I said, you can have education credentials, but entertainment as well. It's so many possibilities.
Absolutely. And I really, I think it would be great to see those barriers erode. So like, for instance, even I had a great experience the other day. I'm going to give the Sherwood Project a plug here if people know about it, where they were minting the NFT on Polygon. And I have not, and this is me, because I'm a bit of a noob when it comes to Polygon. And Andy, I have to thank you for helping me there, because you've helped me so many times where I've been stuck, like, what am I doing? I bought the wrong thing, and walk me through, how to fix it. But I was a bit nervous. I was like, oh gosh, it's on Polygon. I've not had a great experience. I've always bought the wrong thing somehow, like I bought the wrong Matic or whatever. But they were like, we want to make this as easy as possible. And they went through a business called Winter, where it literally is, you go, I want to buy one NFT, click, goes, give us a credit card. Like, there's no signing up with your, your driver's license or any of that sort of stuff. It's just like a normal, if you were doing online shopping, ask for your credit card details or your debit card details, away you go, bang, and there it is. And it was done. It was the easiest thing I think I've done. And I think in terms of buying, I mean, Soul Seed's easy to buy on as well, but in terms of if I wanted to use fiat, that was so simple. And I think more of that is absolutely coming, because those barriers to entry for people who are new and not interested in, all that other stuff, it's going to be much more mainstream. That's my hope.
Yeah, and I think so we've got Coinbase, who have launched their NFT marketplace, and they're very much having the option where you can buy these NFTs, and not just small NFTs, Bored Ape Yacht Club and all these big NFTs with using your credit card, or you'd have to have a pretty big credit card limit for Bored Ape, but but you can do that. And look, I went and bought a couple of seed NFTs, and I used my credit card too, not because I didn't have any Matic, but I bought some Matic right at the top, and now it's like right down here, and it was actually better for me to use my credit card and pay fiat. Otherwise, I'm sort of losing out on that drop that it's dropped, plus, that's the route I went down.
And I wanted to experience the Winter experience as well. I just wanted to see, how does this work? Smooth. What's that going to be like? And it was seamless. It was so good. Definitely one to keep in the brain bank for later in terms of, you want to make it easy for people to buy NFTs off your website. It's the way to go.
Exactly.
Not affiliated, by the way, not affiliated, not paid, just saying.
Cool. So we're actually come up to time.
Oh,
it's gone so quickly. So it's been fantastic talking to you. I guess before we go, if you could let everyone know where we can find you, that'd be the best thing.
Sure. Thank you so much. And yeah, I would love to connect with all of you and any of you. As I said, my DM's open. Come and join our, NFT3 collective. If you'd like to do that on Discord, we are there with open arms. So you can find me anywhere, basically on social media under Lisa J Kalma, which is Kalma. I think my Instagram is actually Lisa J Kalma Brindy, and Brindy's another whole nother story, but you might have to ask me about that one day on DM. I'd be happy to tell you what that all means. But so that's where you can find me, and I'd be more than happy to chat with anybody and continue the conversation.
Cool. That's awesome. Thanks so much for being with us today, Lisa. And hopefully everyone enjoyed that little chat we just had. I'm sure you did. And go and have a break now. And the next one, I think we've got Ellen Rees. So that should be pretty exciting. So go and have a stretch and some water and a bit of food, and we'll see you at Ellen's one. So thanks again, Lisa, and catch you later.
Thank you. And Andy, before we go, I just wanted to say there were a couple of questions I saw come in on about opinions on collaborations and things like that. So is there an opportunity for me somehow I can always reach out to those people.
If you wanted to, even if you wanted to jump into the lobby, you could answer those. I think you talked about, I went through them and it's like, we've talked
you
about
did
collaboration.
Oh
but
yeah,
great. I think we've probably covered them off, but if you wanted to do anything, you could just put something in the lobby chat. That's more welcome to do that.
And Andy, I just want to say a massive thank you to you and the team, to Sean, to Marisol, to Ron, everybody who has been organising this. I know it is a massive endeavour to create an event like this. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for all of your hard work, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. I really do appreciate it. It's been fantastic.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa.
No worries. And do I end from my side?
You click end from your side, and then we should all be wrapped up.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, everybody.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. Bye.